This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Bruchim Abayim. Welcome everyone to a special edition of All Parsha on Parshas Emor, the Ben Shri, the Tzadik V'Ra'anana, Rabbi Yitzchak HaKohen Huberman. On Parshas Emor, the Tzadik V'Ra'anana is mavtiach that anyone who says over his Divrei Torah, he will be melitz for you in this world and the next world. But beyond that, every word of Torah is shakal keneged kulam. So I would like to share with you 8 amazing comments of the Tzadik V'Ra'anana on Parshas Emor. Number 1, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe Emor. Hashem tells Moshe, tell the Kohanim, don't contaminate yourself and be liable to a death penalty. Well, says the Balatur, says the Ben La'ashri, the Soifei Tevois of the words Vayomer Hashem el Moshe Emor are lehar har, telling Aaron, one day you're going to go to Har HaHar, your life will be over. And therefore you need to warn your children now not to contaminate and defile the Beis HaMikdash and the Mishkan. Offering number 2, Emor el HaKohanim. Says the Ben La'ashri, this could be explained based on a teaching of the Kazhnatz Magid on the Mishnah in Avos, Haloimed Yeled, one who learns as a child. What does this mean as one who learns as a child? One who does real tshuva. Before he begins to learn, he's loimed yeled, because about tshuva is kekatan sheneladamin. They give him moichin chadashim, new pathways. Haloimed yeled. What does it mean to be loimed yeled? To learn, before you engage in learning, one should always try to do tshuva. Well, says the Ben Lashri, maybe this is the kavan of the Zohar as well, who says a lashon of zaka yatir yavin leruach neshama, that the Zohar says when one does tshuva, they give you a ruach, they give you a neshama. This refers to the moichin chadashim, the new pathways. Well, accordingly, we could explain the pasuk as follows: Emor el kohanim. Kohanim refers to all clergy. All of Klal Yisrael are called kohanim. We're all mesharsei Hashem, mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh. We say Emor el kohanim, b'nei, tie yourself to the world of bina, which is the world of tshuva, before you learn. And by doing so, you'll be elevated to the madrega of Talmid Chacham. And a ben, a Talmid Chacham are called banim, like it says, V'chol banayich limudei Hashem. Number 3, Ukitz v'hikravtem mincha chadasha l'Hashem. And you will bring a new offering to Hashem, Rashi Tevois v'hikravtem mincha chadasha l'Hashem moichel, because through Kabbalas HaTorah, Hashem is moichel the avonos of Klal Yisrael. In fact, Yushalmi says that by all the karbanos, it says Sir Izim lechatas, it says chatas, except by Shavuos, in the Parsha of the Mayadim in Pinchas, it does not say chatas, because through Kabbalas HaTorah, Hashem is moichel avonosenu, and therefore the Rashi Tevois v'hikravtem mincha chadasha l'Hashem are moichel. Well, says the Ben La'ashri, look in the Sefer Avodas Yisrael of the Kazhnatz Magid, that on the pasuk, V'yinayim Hashem Elokeinu aleinu masiyadenu kanu aleinu masiyadenu, 5 news, new, 5 news. 5 times new is 280. This refers to the 280 koichos of din that were mavata with the pasuk of V'hinayim. Well, through moicha, through being mekabel the Torah, then mincha, the carbon mincha, then is not coming for kapara, but rather chadasha. It's coming to renew ourselves. Lashem is gematria 56. Through the koich of 56, we are able to overcome the koichos of dinim. Okay, we move on to the 4th offering. V'hikravtem al halechem. The Balaturim says twice. It says al halechem. V'hikravtem al halechem, referring to karbanos, and loy al halechem levado yichya ha'adam, referring to a pasuk in Parshas Ekev, loy al halechem levado yichya ha'adam, ki al kol moitza pi Hashem yichya ha'adam. Says the Ben La'ashri, we could explain the comments of the Masorah of the 2 instances where it says al halechem, based on that which the Mefarshim say, that the ikar carbon is, one should think that one through their masim is roi, that he himself should be shechted. This is the kavana of achila. Whenever we eat, we're supposed to try to be moitzi, the nitzoitzos of kedusha, the pi Hashem that exists in inanimate objects, in plants, in animals. So the pasuk can be read as follows: V'hikravtem, you should be makriv all your karbanis through al halechem, through achila. V'hikravtem, all karbanis should be al halechem, through achila. Because loy al halechem levado yichya. Man doesn't live only on lechem, but ki al moitzi pi Hashem in the lechem, and the nitzotzes hakedusha that are oila through that is like being makriv a carbon. So for hikravtem al halechem, you should bring a carbon by achila. How? Because loy al halechem levado yichya ha'adam, but there's kedusha in the lechem. As Chazal say, the pasuk in Yechezkel says, it begins by talking about the shulchan and it ends by speaking about the mizbeach to indicate that bisman she'ein beis hamikdash kayam shulchanoi shel adam is machaper. Offering number 5. Ach be'asar lachodesh hashvi hazeh. But on the 10th day of this month, is gematria sheboy yia harigas Rabbi Akiva. On that day was the murder of Rabbi Akiva. As the Medrash indicates, Rabbi Akiva was killed on Yom Kippur. In fact, the Medrash seems to indicate that Rabbi Akiva was killed specifically on the nighttime Shema. And as the Medrash says that they found Rabbi Akiva slain in jail in the evening. So if he was killed on Yom Kippur, it was the nighttime Shema. So the Gemara in Bracha says Rabbi Akiva was killed Bizman Kriya Shema. One may have thought it was the Kriya Shema Shel Shachris. No, in fact it was the Kriya Shema Shel Arvis. In that case, we understand Yom Kippur begins with the pasuk Arzaru al Atzadik El Yisrael Lev Simcha, which is a remez to Rabbi Akiva. That also indicates that Yom Kippur was the time that Rabbi Akiva was murdered. However, the Ben La'ashri adds that through the death of Rabbi Akiva, it's Mavatel, the koyach of the Samach Mem, and therefore the gematria of Ach Be'asar Lachodesh Hashvi Hazeh is Batlat Suk Hatzara Shlitas Esav. The power of Esav has been destroyed. We now move on to offering number 6, Pre-Eitz Hadar Kapois Tamarim, which refers to, of course, the Esroig and the Lulav. Well, the Seifei Tevos of these words are Yetzer Mav Meis. The Yetzer is dead. What does this refer to? Or it refers to the death through the hand of the Yetzer Hara. Chazal say, the fruit that Adam Arishon ate was an esrog, and it brought Misa La'olam. Yetzer Meis. Through the pre-Eitz Hadar, it brought the Yetzer Hara, it brought Misa. But, as the Gemara tells us, Hashem never brings a Makkah unless He creates the Refuah first, and therefore the Rashi Tevois of these words, Ima Koilo, is Gematria 151, which, by the way, is the Gematria of Ekiah B'miluai, which is the shame of Tshuva, and Tav Chav Hei, which is the shame with which Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Mitzri. So through these shemos, we're able to be masakein the pigamim and the infraction of Adam Rishon. Offering number 7, B'yoim HaShabbos, B'yoim HaShabbos. Why the double lashon B'yom HaShabbos, B'yom HaShabbos? Possibly, says the Ben La'ashri, the Ion Yaakov says Menachos Chavtes, the Lechem HaPanim is Marames to the Torah. And we know, Kulei Alma Loi Pligi, everyone agrees the Torah was given on Shabbos. And the Torah has 2 components to it, Torah Shebachsav and Torah Sheba'al Peh. Hence, B'yoim HaShabbos, B'yom HaShabbos, the 2 aspects of the Lechem HaPanim, the 2 aspects of the Torah, Torah Shebachsav and Torah Sheba'al Peh. And finally, Marv Rabbi Sai, the final offering of Ben La'ashri for Parshas Emor. Ve'ish ki yakeh kol nefesh adam mois yumas. If a man will smite every soul, any soul, he will die. Very interesting, because this pasuk seems to be out of place. It seems not to belong here. We had an issue, what to do with the Mekalel. We didn't know whether he is liable to the death penalty or not. And we didn't know how to punish him. So Moshe Rabbeinu asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and in the course of Hashem telling Moshe what to do to this Mekalel, he says, by the way, someone who kills someone is chayiv misa. Not only that, someone who hits someone has to pay. Even if you hit a behema, you have to pay. What does this have to do with anything? We have a question about the Mekalel. What do we do with the Mekalel? So why is Hashem telling Moshe random halachos? Oh, if you kill someone, you're chayiv misa. If you hit someone, you have to pay. Even if you damage a behema, you have to pay. So the Ben Lashri says something remarkable. He says, the Gemara in Sanhedrin says, actually the Gemara in Makos says in Daf Zayin, a Sanhedrin that kills more than once every 7 years is called it's a killing court. Now the Gemara in Bava Basra says, Kuf Yotes, the Mekoishesh and the Megadef were at the same time. The Mekoishesh was the gatherer, and the Mekala was the one who cursed Hashem. And they both were Chayiv Misa. Now if we're going to kill both of them, that might create a certain desensitivity toward murder. Even though we had to, and this was what Hashem wanted, and they had to be punished. Nevertheless, as Chazal say, that a Bezdin that kills more than once every 7 years, it's too aggressive. And therefore Hashem, in this instance, where 2 people were going to be executed, He wanted to sensitize us to murder. So He said, listen, if you kill someone in general, you chayiv misa. But Hashem took it to the other extreme. Not only that, but if you damage someone, you have to pay. Not only that, not only can you not be aggressive to a human, you can't be aggressive to an animal. If you damage an animal, you have to pay. So amazingly, this is really a very specific and intentional location of these psukim. Says the Ben Lashri, this was placed here with Chachma Rabbah. Now in general, why is the episode of the Megadef mentioned in the Parsha of the Kohanim? What does this have to do with Kohanim? So says the Ben Lashri, the Pasuk says in Malachi, Amar Hashem Tzavakos Lachem HaKohanim Boizei Shemi. That when Kohanim disgrace, or when Kohanim do not follow the Torah, it's a greater disgrace for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The greater someone is, the more severe an infraction they commit is. And therefore the Kohanim were had to be on extra special guard, because anytime they anytime they violate the Torah, they're mevaza Hashem. So that's the connection between the Parsha of the Kohanim and the Megadef, because any infraction a Kohen commits is akin to chiruf v'giduf. So these are 8 amazing offerings of the Ben Lashri. Number 1, Vayomer Hashem al Moshe Emor Sefer Tevos Har HaHar, reminding Aaron of his ultimate demise. Emor El HaKohanim reminds everyone that we should, if we want to serve Hashem properly, we should start off with B'nai, with Tshuva, to be loimed Yeled. Number 3, V'krafta Mincha Chadosh Al Hashem Rashi Tevos Moichel, that when we're Makabel the Torah on Shavuos, Hashem is Moichel Ar Avonos V'hikravtem Al Alechem, that the Ikar Karban should be through Achila, because Lo Al Alechem Levado Yichya Ha'adam. Ach ve'asar l'chodesh hashvi hazeh is a remez to Misas Rabbi Akiva on Yom Kippur. Number 6, pre-Eitz Hadar Kapos Tamar is a remez to the creation of the Yetzer and Maves through the Achila of the Esrog. Number 7, B'yom HaShabbos. B'yom HaShabbos is repeated twice, connecting the 2 dimensions of Torah, Shebachsav and Shebal Peh. And finally, the Ish Kiyaka Kol Nefesh Adam, since the Mekala and the Mekoishesh were both being killed, Hashem wanted to sensitize us to aggressiveness and killing in general. Wishing everyone a wonderful Shabbos Parshas Emor. Haba Aleinu L'Tova.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.